Welcome to On the Vineyard. I'm Monica Brady-Meyerhoff, the publisher of the Vineyard Gazette Media Group on Martha's Vineyard. We're so glad you're here. On the Vineyard is sponsored by Crane Appliance. America's oldest carousel is back in rotation for the season in Oak Bluffs. The Flying Horses is owned and lovingly maintained by the Vineyard Preservation Trust. I went over the other day because I love to watch the joy on people's faces as they try and grab the brass ring and win a free ride. Young or old, the carousel brings joy. Now some news that doesn't bring me any joy, and probably won't for you either. The beloved Gray Barn and Farm, known for its fresh bread and award-winning cheese, will pause its business at the end of the season, saying the business can't keep up with the rising cost of farming and cheesemaking. The owners, Molly and Eric Glasgow, said that since the pandemic, their current business model is no longer viable. Coming up, a story about turtles.
What they've been finding out on Nomans is a lot of the adult turtles out there have deformed limbs, and no one really knows why.
More on that story in a moment. But first, I want to say how impressed I am with the way island businesses support one another. They really look out for each other. Case in point, the community coming together to get Martha's Vineyard Sea Salt in Tisbury back on its feet after a storm destroyed its new solar evaporator building. Heidi Feldman, the owner of Martha's Vineyard Sea Salt, remembers how the storm last December came with gale force winds.
I could feel the shingles lift off my house, and it was like 10:30 at night, and I also heard a big boom, and I knew what had happened. The cover of our brand new solar evaporator, which we built to kind of protect ourselves from climate change, came right off. Like, imagine a tin can being opened up. And so we have been raising money at the suggestion of our other business folks in the community, and the goal was to underwrite the repair of the building, which just went into production in July, but to also help support us through the winter because we lost 200 pounds of sea salt when the top came off.
They're close to hitting their $40,000 goal and expect the repairs to be done and the new building up and running in the next few weeks. That's the sound of the historic press and the Vineyard Gazette offices in Edgartown printing the paper. And that means it's time to go upstairs to the newsroom and check in with Bill Level, the editor-in-chief, and the reporters on this week's news.
Turning now to Addison Antonoff, who has a story this week in the paper about a vineyard woman who turned a personal tragedy into an advocacy effort to make sure others don't suffer the similar fate. She spoke with Megan Shai Brown, whose husband Michael Brown died 2 years ago of a wasp sting while he was playing golf, and she has now introduced some bills into the State House, as well as helped push forward the effort to get more epinephrine in island police forces.
Yes, so I spoke to Megan Shai Brown about her advocacy work. Her husband died due to anaphylaxis, and the medication that is used to treat anaphylactic shock, EpiPens or other epinephrine autoinjectors, are kind of hard to get into the hands of the public. The way the medication works right now is usually you have a prescription of it, which would require knowing that you have an allergy. So if it's your first time having an allergic reaction like it was with Mr. Brown, it might be too late to get it unless somebody has it to hand in the situation. So her advocacy work began on the island with the Edgartown Police Department. The police now carry EpiPens in their medical bags and in their cruisers. So if they respond to a situation where someone is suffering from anaphylactic shock, they can administer an EpiPen and hopefully save the life of the person dealing with anaphylactic shock.
And now she's put forth the efforts to go at a state level, and a lot of the state representatives are helping back her with these new bills.
Yes, Ms. Brown has worked on 3 different bills in the State House. One, which was introduced with Representative Moakley and Senator Sear, would give different organizations or entities the ability to train their employees and then hold a stock of non-prescription EpiPens. So places like youth sports leagues, restaurants, amusement parks, other places like that, if this law is passed, would be able to train their staff on how to use EpiPens and then have a couple on hand in case something happens.
Great. That's a really wonderful story. Thanks for tracking it down, Addison.
Thanks.
Turning now to Ethan Genter, who has a story about a mystery out on Nomans Island that involves the spotted turtle out there. Ethan, what did you uncover?
So there's been a team of researchers who have been going out to Nomans, which, for folks who don't know, is the former Navy bombing test site just off of Aquinnah. It's about 3 miles south of there. And they've been going out there to check on these spotted turtles, which are kind of these rare ish turtles, very small. And what they've been finding out on Nomans is a lot of the adult turtles out there have deformed limbs, and no one really knows why.
And you say there's really no predators out there. The normal predators don't live there. There's just cottontail rabbits and some other, maybe, I guess, birds, but it doesn't look like it's predators, correct?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why this is confounding to folks is these turtles seem to have the deluxe package on places to live. There's no real predators out there for them. And so they're wondering why, even still with that, they have such higher rates of limb deformities than their mainland peers.
Now, of course, one would think immediately there was bombing there. There could be contamination. What's interesting, you did a story last year about rabbits out there. They're thriving. They're not deformed, so they're not having effects of that. But that's not conclusive, but people are looking into that, right?
Yeah, as you can imagine, there's all kinds of chemicals in the ground over there. Testing levels for all kinds of things have been found high. But one of the things they learned as they kind of looked is this seems to only be affecting the adult turtles out there. And they would assume that if this was a pollutant in the environment, that this would affect all of the turtles, not just the adult ones.
And it doesn't make sense that it's some sort of Darwinian evolution. There's not much time that's passed. But so how are they going to solve the mystery?
We may never know why this is happening out there. As you can imagine, research is expensive. The research out there is part of an East Coast-wide tracking of spotted turtles, and it's expensive to get to Nomans. So the amount of work you would need to do to kind of figure this out, they might not really have the resources to do. But they're hoping that people will pick this up and see why is this happening, and maybe it can help researchers in other places.
All right. Thanks for that, and we will keep you posted if we find out any more about it.
You can read more on these stories and all the news for free at vineyardgazette.com. It's spring planting time. There are so many plant sales on the island, it's enough to make an armchair gardener get up and buy some seedlings. Cook the Vineyard writes that Beetlebung Farm is running its plant sale through the end of May. They'll be putting out new seedlings each week, starting with kale, arugula, parsley, peas, flowers, and then moving into the warmer veggies like cucumbers, tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers. The greenhouse of Martha's Vineyard in Oak Bluffs continues its annual plant sale every Saturday and Sunday now through the second week of June. Not everyone has a green thumb. Some get results by intimidation. The Martha's Vineyard Museum came across this audio of Chilmark farmer Ozzie Fisher, who died in 2011, telling a story about his rosebush.
And I got one interesting story about a rosebush. We had a rosebush by the corner of the shed out there for years, and it wouldn't bloom. So one year I stood there and I pointed at it and I said, "If you don't bloom next year, I'm going to kill you." And it's bloomed ever since. And it was true. It was going to come out the next year if it didn't bloom. Scared the hell out of it.
Well, that's an interesting approach. Thanks to the Martha's Vineyard Museum's Lindsay Lee, who recorded that audio in 1983. And the island's oldest goat has died at the age of 20. Ruby was a polarizing figure, according to the article in the Vineyard Gazette, because while she liked to socialize with humans, she didn't like women and children and would attack them with her horns. Her owner, Doug Lyman, put tennis balls on her horns to soften the blows. She was buried with her tennis balls. A few weeks ago, I told you about the Herring Creek camera live streaming the spring migration. It's set up by the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead Aquinnah Natural Resources Department. You can see a video of the live stream recorded at a high traffic time, which means you're going to see a lot of fish, if you listen to this podcast on the Vineyard Gazette's YouTube channel. Thanks to Andrew Jacobs of the Wampanoag Environmental Laboratory for the video. Our theme music is from island composer and musician Michael Hayden. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends. Thanks to our sponsor, Crane Appliance. Their appliance experts listen to your needs and help you choose the right appliances for your home. Crane Appliance. They call the Cape and Islands home. I'm Monica Brady-Meyerov. Thanks for joining us on The Vineyard. Talk to you next week.